Welcome all to the second edition of Web3 Marketing Roles on LinkedIn this time. This is where we discuss Web3 marketing with the leading experts in the game. And today's hot topic is community building in 2024. But before we go deep into community building, I would love our guests to briefly introduce themselves. Just a couple of words about you. Diego, would you like to go first?
Yeah, for sure. Diego Borgo, been advising Fortune 500 brands on how to enter Web3, been working with brands at the like of Adidas, Prada, MasterCard, Unilever, L'Oreal, Volkswagen Group, Porsche, Skoda, Cupra, Shell. But I also have been building Borgo Labs and Borgo Academy, which are the extension of my work and the expansion of the stuff I do within the space too.
Cool. Marc?
And nice to meet you all. Great to be here. I'm Marc. I joined crypto in 2017, was the CMO of Bitcoin Swiss for a couple of years, and then founded FiftyOne Ventures and Dematerializd. Now I'm publishing a lot of research on the Web3 consumer space, really deeply rooted also in the whole crypto origin of what we now today call Web3, and extremely excited what brands are building with this, helping a lot of startups as well, growing and being more present in the space, and looking forward to this discussion.
Nice. Yeah, as we were talking before going live, Diego said that Marc's content on LinkedIn is one of the best in terms of Web3 marketing. Respect for that. I love your content, man. I love your the recaps of major Web3 marketing campaigns. So guys, if you don't follow Marc, you should do it. And Zack, how about you? Can you say a few words?
Yeah, I'm Zack Deris. I'm the founder of ZDTS, which is a sales growth and marketing training agency with a key foothold in the Web3 space. I'm a strategic advisor to Cookie Free, to Exclusible, to a number of other agencies and businesses within the Web3 space. Our key focus is really helping independent business owners and agencies find their foothold and be able to scale and grow pretty rapidly, but not being able to sabotage their personal brand at the same time. So worked with a hell of a lot of communities in the bull run over 2021 and 2022. So super excited for this conversation with these OGs in the chat. So thanks for having me.
Cool, man. And I'm Antoni, marketing manager at Cookie Free and your host for today, ready to ask some difficult questions. And before we go deep into community building, remember guys, this session is interactive. So feel free to drop your questions in the spaces, in the LinkedIn chat. The best question, as we promised before on our social media, will be given a 6 months free account on Cookie Free. And what's more, as you can see below my face, there's a little QR code in the bottom right corner. This is a link to the form. So just fill it in and we'll get in touch with you on Friday to grant you a full month free of Cookie Free. So with all that organizational and business stuff set, let's get down to it. And my opening question, gents, is in which offline or online communities do you feel the most part of? So Zack, if you could please lead the way.
Cool. All right. So as I briefly mentioned in my intro, 2021 and 2022, I spent a lot of time building communities for other businesses that at the beginning of 2023, I decided I'm going to do it myself. So I launched the first alpha group for LinkedIn called the 100 community, which essentially has a 100x mindset to absolutely everything that you do. We haven't monetized the community in any way, shape, or form yet because that was not the goal. It was just to see, can we get 100 people to really 100x their journey from like personal and professional on the LinkedIn platform. And a lot of the stuff that we discuss and teach is cross-platform. And thankfully, over the past year, I found 22 of the most incredible core members, which is essentially my C-suite. We manage a community of 600 people together, and that's great. That's the online world. As it relates to offline, As you know, Anthony, I moved to Warsaw around 3 years ago. So like I gave up a lot of my in-person communities when I came over here. However, thankfully, probably a conversation for another day, but the only community offline that I'm involved in is a group of rap artists and producers, because I'm beginning my journey of becoming a rap artist. Conversation for another day. It's like a moonlighting thing. And I'm just like really, really well integrated with like the whole Polish rap scene. And it's insane, man. It's absolutely crazy. These guys can rap, especially in English too. So yeah, very different to Web3, very different to online, but a little bit of both worlds.
And I love Polish, American, British, Italian, Spanish rap. So I can't wait for your music. And also, is there any beef between some hip hop scenes, groups that you're involved with?
So in the UK, everyone is massively competitive as and when it comes to rap. But what I found is in Warsaw, specifically Warsaw, I don't know what like the Poznan scene is like, but like they're very collaborative, right? So everyone's like really supportive of each other with their music and their content. But I mean, people still do get competitive when they jump on a track with another person and do a feature and stuff like that. I've actually got a feature coming with a pretty cool person soon, which I can't wait to put onto LinkedIn. It's actually pretty focused on community too, so it's pretty fun.
Nice.
Coming
Guys, stay
April.
tuned.
Yeah.
Cool. Can't wait. Diego, would you like to take over?
Yeah, offline community. I've been in martial arts for a long time. I've been in skateboarding, surfing, and those things. And from all those different communities, I think skateboarding is the coolest community to be at, because there's always this idea that from the outside, skateboarders is just like lonely and either aggressive or depressed. But as soon as you get into the community, it's super cool because you get to sort of like learn and develop together. And then on the flip coin, you have that idea that surfers are like super cool, super chilled, but everybody in the water is just like super aggressive. So, when I got into surfing, I was like, what's going on here? What's happening, right? So it's really like the opposite. And it's really funny because that's kind of like one of the things that I figured out that, obviously you can't judge a book by its cover, but a lot of times we sort of like look from the outside and think something. And then once we're in there, we realize it. So, and martial arts is the same. You think about martial arts, you think about like, fighting and people like punching each other, and you go to a sparring session and you think the other people just want to beat the shit out of you, and end up being like super humble and nice people that, just want to like, grow together. So from the offline world, I think that's sort of like the communities I am in. I got with a couple buddies here what I live, because I live like 4 minutes from the beach, right? So I surf as much as I can when I can. So we got together and we're like, how can we make surfers more friendly, right? Like, let's try to get together and make that happen, because it's just such a a hostile environment, believe it or not, which is really intriguing once you first start doing it. And then from an online community, I mean, I've been deep down the Discords and DGen path within the last 3 years, right? That's sort of like what got me into Web3, and also what sort of like got me to see the different spheres, right? I spent my entire life working with big brands since I was 16 years old and helping them figure out different emerging tags and different ways on deploying those tags from gaming to now Web3. And once I first learned about Web3 and all those communities, I got really deep into that, right? But I always had that feeling of like not really finding a place to belong within any of those communities, because, a lot of them were just focused on like money making and flipping and all that craziness that we all experienced throughout the bull market. And what I got excited, especially about LinkedIn, was that once I got here about 3 years ago and I started creating content, I was like, nobody's talking about the shit here, right? And nobody's being authentic if they are talking about it. So you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna be myself, and I'm gonna bring a lot of that sort of like Twitter vibe that we enjoy from that side, but taking away all the negativity, taking away of the tech talk, and taking away all of that sort of like, big that sort of like dick measurement contest that happens in Twitter. And that's what I found my community online right now. I think that on LinkedIn, all the business that I've done within the last 3 years has been in there. A lot of friends that I've made, Anthony Day being, on top of that shelf, because we hang out, quite often, and he lives just in the corner, and we match for LinkedIn actually, which is funny. So I think that'll be sort of like, the way. And again, going back to wrap up what I'm saying, if you look from the outside, especially if you're in tech, to LinkedIn, your first imagination is just going to be boomers and people, doing cold sale there. So there's no point for me to create content on that platform because nobody there is who I want to be connected with. But as soon as you start going deeper into the community within the platform, especially our community, which I think we're still very lucky, that's still a very productive and engaging community, it's by far much more engaging and exciting than being on Twitter. So again, right, if there is one thing to take away from that is you can't judge a book by its cover, right? Like the surfer community I mentioned before is like the LinkedIn community I'm mentioning right now, right? So that's kind of like what makes me excited about figuring out the ways community works, because from the outside you can never figure it out unless you're deep into it.
Yeah, thanks for the answer. It was super insightful. Especially we can start to think about how we can leverage offline community building in online community building. Like, for example, in martial arts, which I practice Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu for 1 year now, and I feel strongly the part of community. And it was super surprising because, as you said, it is a violent place, but at the same time, these guys are super happy to see you. They are super gentle. Everyone is kind of, feeling each other out. And we have the same goal, we have the same vision, and we practice the same skills. And I think that online communities, when they leverage that, the same vision, the same skills, the same vibe, the same background, more or less, that's where online communities thrive. Yeah, totally. So Mark, I'm curious.
We should get Philippe to sponsor the first Thought Leader Cage fight live on LinkedIn. I go from Muay Thai, I go from BJJ.
Let's do it. Man,
that's the new meta, isn't it?
I will crush you in the ground game, so
Let's go, dude. Let's go.
Mark, what about you? Which communities do you like, both offline and online?
No, I mean, it's great that Diego mentioned the surf community, sport community. I think that's also, I'm based in Switzerland, and that's also very big. I mean, Swiss, you have a lot of mountains and lakes, and so people do a lot of sports and triathlon and stuff like this. I'm a cyclist. I also do triathlon, but I usually would go out cycling with buddies and just meet random people on the bike. So that's there, and I think doing sports together in a group, that has been a trend for the last 10 or 15 years. And I think that's really also kind of the bigger topic that we're talking about it here. It's about how communities form, and for me, that really started about 10, 15 years ago when you had the first kind of cycling classes. Now you see a lot of running clubs, people doing sports together. And for me, a big trend. When I started with crypto here in Switzerland, there was a big crypto community. We also call it the Crypto Valley. So you would have quite a small but very tight community of crypto people that grew a lot over the years. And as of now, I think the Web3 community is global. And I love to see people and meet people in that community, because I feel it's always super open and constructive, and people are in it together, and you feel like we're building something together, something bigger, and we're all in the same boat. And that's the general kind of feeling I have whenever I meet people from this space. And really enjoying it, like meeting my friends at the conferences around the world, and else online here on LinkedIn, or in Discord. I'm also part of the Friends with Benefits, part of Pochi Penguin, but I'm not a super active community member there.
Thanks, Mark. Doing this post together is the way to go. And we have a first question from the audience, which is somewhat connected to what I wanted to ask you guys. So how to design a system of reward that align with community contributions. And I think this is especially relevant in Web3 world when it's financially incentivized. And from one hand, it's okay because we get a lot of engagement because people are thriving to get rich, so to speak. But on the other hand, they should stick to the brand, they should stick to the product, and not more monetary values only. So what are your thoughts on that? Anyone would like to take it?
Yeah, cool. I'll jump in. So we do a lot of giveaways in the 100 community, but rarely, apart from the occasional pizza or burger or something like that, it's not financial, it's educational driven, because the reason why the individuals join this community is for knowledge and for education. So whenever we do a giveaway, it will be an hour free complimentary consultation with myself or any one of the other elite core members that we have, or we may give them access to some paid and super exclusive content, and it works really well. We run a competition earlier on today for the post promoting this event, and it blew up really quickly because people knew that they were going to be incentivized to get some free consultation, right? So I think whatever rewards you create, it needs to match the type and the audience that are within your community, because there are going to be loads of people who won't participate in community growth activities if you're only going to throw money at them, or if you're only going to give them educational content. You need to split test everything and just try and see what has the most appeal to your audience.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'll build on that just real quick. Like coming from another angle, right? Because that's obviously like personal brand or other people coming together perspective, right? But if you look from a brand angle, I think that the formula Zack just laid out is pretty much applicable in that sense as well at scale, right? So if you look at even technology abstraction, right? It doesn't have to be Web3. Even at the traditional loyalty program model that you have, for example, I worked for Adidas for 4 years and in the digital team in the headquarters in Germany. And one of the things we've done a lot there is that Adidas has 2,500 plus partners, that being people that play sports, that being creators, that being musicians, that being artists across the globe, right? 2,500 top-notch, market relevant and global relevant partners. And one thing we've done a lot of times was looking into, for example, a specific community, let's say football, and getting people something that they could never dream of, right? What is something that everybody would be blown away by because they're super deep and so excited about that community? So, for example, throughout the World Cup, we would get Messi to sign a specific jersey and then run within the Adidas Club app, where is basically the loyalty program from Adidas, a raffle for members of a certain level that have taken certain actions to get that jersey to them, right? Like that's a small thing of not monetary incentive. I mean, you can flip that on eBay if you want to, but I don't think people would because they're so excited and so passionate about it. And you also leveraging, a creator or someone from your brand that people really want to get closer to. And those things are usually the things, or were usually the things back on the time I was there, that people love the most. Another things was like literally just a selfie video of, a creator that they really are passionate about, giving them welcome because they went to a new tier within the program, and people would like be mind blown, right? Is access to someone that you really enjoy. The brand is doing something really exciting, which, is very hard to do just with product, which is they're touching you emotionally, right? Obviously, you can touch someone emotionally through the product, but it's more of a transactional element. Now, when you're touching someone emotionally through giving them something that they weren't expecting, that is extremely valuable for them, and there is no way they can pay for it, that's what's awesome, right? So if you think about that being, in Web3 and Web2 and Web1 and Web0, or, for major Fortune 500 brand, or for smaller communities of like-minded people, like, the one that Zack runs and hosts, the mechanic is the same, right? You need to reverse engineer the basic instincts of humans of what they really are excited about and what will touch them emotionally and how they can benefit from it. And I think that adding a financial incentive like, other projects in Web3 have done, obviously Bored Apes being the first one to make a bunch of people rich. But I think that a lot of projects, if you want to go deeper into Web3 specifically, fall short because they went through the same model. Right? They're like, here, we're going to give you a bunch of airdrops that you can sell so you can get rich. And as soon as you add that layer, it changes everything. right? Because then you start looking to scalpers, you start attracting people that want to flip, people that are looking to the commercialization aspect of that, rather than people that are really excited about what this is about, right? Why do we came here? And I think having that sort of like North Star of a cause or something that is bigger than the creator is always going to be exciting too, right? Because if you look into bigger cause like sustainability or world hunger or climate change or whatever it is, people get excited and huddle behind a cause that is bigger than themselves that they can't tackle alone, and the only way forward is if they get together and shape it up, right? So I think that those are certain elements of that initial formula that Zack has mentioned that we can definitely add another layers or bring scalability into, regardless of the size of your business, right? Can be a small like-minded community, can be one of the largest brands in the world, and everything in between.
And just to jump in here, I love what you just said, Diego, about a bigger cause. I frankly believe that if you want to build up a successful community today, it's not enough if you have monetary incentives. You need to have more than that. And I think you touched upon 3 topics now, Diego. For me, a successful community always has some kind of utility, whether that's monetary incentives, but oftentimes it's something different, like you mentioned, Zack, as well. It could be access to something. It could be any kind of cool, exclusive experience, whatever excites this person for the brand. And then I think the second element is culture, and that connects, Diego, to what you said, a higher purpose. And so I think that's just super important. If you look at consumer brands as well as they enter the space, that the most successful consumer brands, they have some kind of culture. They are deeply rooted within characters and stories. Within certain types of content, they have certain kind of trademarks that people attach to, and culture together with some kind of utility, together with maybe some kind of purpose, as you said, Diego, some kind of social value, social growth that people can grow. I think that's the mix that makes a community work, and not monetization itself.
Yeah, I think we got to the most valuable part yet. And to just add on top of that, I think what Diego said about giving a messy video, and rather than just distributing 100 USDT to the community, it comes from the awareness of our community. Like, if it was a community that's mostly fans of NBA, it wouldn't be a gift of that high value. So that's what we, as creators of DeFi protocols, NFT collections, or sports communities, whatever that is, we just really need to talk with the community members and see what they thrive on and what they're really into. And that awareness will bring the incentivization along. And let's not be lazy and just give bucks for free. So guys, I would also get to the key elements of community building. We touched upon the vision. We touched upon the incentivization. So is there anything else to community building? Mark, would you like to go first?
So as I said, I think there are 3 core elements, at least in my head, for a successful community. That's first, utility. Again, that can be whatever. Mostly it's not monetary incentives, but something else that's important to a community member. Second is culture. So it really needs a kind of deeper connection, deeper root with whatever you're doing, that's informed by the surroundings, informed by wherever the community is in. And the third element for me is purpose. And again, this is kind of a higher call, a bigger purpose for community members than just kind of getting something out of that. but a bigger cause, but why you're doing it.
Yeah,
Can I jump in real quick, or Zach, you want to go?
Oh, Diego, yeah.
No, go on.
Yeah, I think that one of the things that we do a lot is talk about like success and stuff, right? So here's a personal failure, which I think it's really interesting because I learned shit tons about it, and I think you don't have to go through that to learn yourself. So here's the alpha. I launched when was it? 2022, I think 2022. I launched a masterclass, right? How brands should enter the metaverse and NFT space. I got 350 plus people going through that program. Was a $600 ticket, so wasn't necessarily for everyone, but people that were really down to be part of it went there. And what I've done is I shot 12 days in a studio, everything I knew into the camera. So that was 14 hours plus worth of content. And once I went to market with it, and it sold really well, I was like, perfect, done, right? Job done. And I sort of like let the product lead, and I always sort of like refer back to the product and sort of like let community managers run the community on my behalf. And then the more time passed by and the more, I start sort of like zooming out to see what next steps would be within my strategy, the more I start realizing that was the major mistake that I shouldn't have made, which was not necessarily being the one running the community, first of all. And secondly, again, judging the book by its cover, right? I thought that everybody was buying the knowledge when everybody was buying access, which is such an interesting and exciting way to look at things. So once I started DMing everyone that went through the masterclass to hear about their feedback, because the realization happened and I went to hustle mode and went to talk to everyone, 95% of the people told me, because I asked them, tell me one thing that was the most important thing for you within this thing. And 95% of them answered the community. Like the people that they've met, the people they've got to hang out. We would go to events, for example, the Metzco is a fair that happens in Germany. And, 35 people from that community met IRL and they were hanging out there. And I start realizing that the core element of community building, especially for people like Zach and I that are building like community building based on personal brand, is people want you to be there. People want to talk directly to you. People want to have access to you. And if you want to do that massy style thing, I think Zach just mentioned that before, imagine if you can incentivize people by saying, hey, you get a one-on-one consultancy with me, which we can talk about your business, which usually I charge, I don't know, 500, 600, $1,000 an hour. Now you can get it for free. I'm not giving you $1,000, but I'm giving you access to me and all the knowledge I've acquired through working in this industry. So when that thing clicked to me, I was like, how could you not have realized why you were so deep into so many different communities? But that's what is funny about being a founder, is that you don't really apply the things you see others not applying. You just sort of like go your way, and then someone needs to come from outside and tap on your shoulder and say something. So I feel that that's something extremely valuable that I've learned that didn't necessarily cost me a lot of money, but it just cost me thoughts afterwards that I could have done a better job, which it's what keep a lot of creators and founders up at night, because a lot of times it's not about the money you're not making, but about the value you're not delivering.
Boom.
Yeah, and Diego, that's a great story, and I think it's exactly the same with brands. I mean, brands need to approach it the same way. You can't just throw out a community program out there and hire some community manager and then leave it on the side and think it runs itself. I mean, it's deeply, for you, it's deeply personal, and for a brand, in a way, it's deeply personal as well.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry, I was just agreeing out loud. Didn't mean to interrupt.
Yeah. No, I just wanted to add that. Also, I think a community is never something that you just run on the side. You need to be fully involved.
100%.
Yeah, because the thing with brands is that you have the feeling of it, the emotion, right? Like you don't go and buy a $500 Gucci bag because there's no emotion attached to that, right? There is emotion because it's unreasonable, and emotion is riding over your reason in order for you to do that, right? So if you don't attach that emotion element to the storytelling, to the community development, to everything else, like as soon as people get reasonable, they're like, why are you gonna pay $500 for that purse? You know, like, so that's 100%, you know, again, also applies for smaller communities like what we're doing, but also for large brands, you know, that are doing that at scale. Sorry, Zach.
No, you're good. I think my internet cut out for a minute. I want to touch on what Mark said about like the 3 key elements of the utilities and community and stuff like that. I have always agreed with that and have always prioritized.
I think cut off again.
Endorphins, the dopamine, the serotonin, and the oxytocin, right? Because each of these elements are the key chemicals that we need for happiness and for support and for trust and for loyalty. And I personally believe that if it weren't, and this is a biased opinion, but if it weren't for the COVID epidemic and pandemic and all of this stuff, there is no way the Web3 scene was probably going to blow off as much as it actually did. Because everybody was alone at home. They were like me. I came to Warsaw 5 days before the lockdown. I planned to come here for a holiday for 2 weeks. The day I was going to fly back, I turn on the news and I'm like, there's no flights. What's going on? So now I live here and yada, yada, yada. But like, I immersed myself into Zoom calls, into Discords, into conversations. And the one key thing that it was always my takeaway was people were there to support you. It doesn't matter if you don't know what they actually are like, if they're going to hide behind a PFP or whatever, or if that's how they choose to identify themselves. It doesn't really matter, right? At the end of the day, people get together in communities because every single human being in the world does have a community. They just need to utilize good marketing and good online presence, because that's the age of the internet that we live in, to be able to identify your community members. Now, what Diego mentioned right now is super fascinating, because in December, I launched a workshop, which is essentially called the Sales Operating the System. And it was everything I've learned related to sales my whole entire life, from building your business as an independent consultant, advisor, or a marketing agency or whatever, and all the steps and elements that you need to do. And the way that I marketed this was I gave so much more value, and I did a dirt cheap price. And cheers, Daniela, thank you. And I did, that just threw me off. I did such a dirt cheap price because normally people will pay me $1,000 to sit with me for 5 hours to consult and build a strategy for them. But I realized there are hundreds and hundreds of people that engage in my content that can never afford to work together with me. So what can I do? I can package everything in a very, very, very small package. And I think 2 days before the workshop, we sold out all 212 seats that we had. But again, just like what Diego mentioned, I paid attention to what people were coming for every single day that we met, because it was 3 sessions in total, and they kept on coming back for community. So on the last day, what I did was I just out of the blue said to everyone, for the next 6 weeks, beginning from January, we're going to do a Q&A session, right? Completely free of charge. It's just a bonus. But I would really love to know if you guys would like to be in a group chat in a community, right? 70% of people said yes. And I was shocked, because a lot of the people in this group are competitive, right? But the reason why now they're collaborating together, they're beginning to do live events and content together and all of this stuff, because they went through this journey of education by them, like together. And obviously they're going to execute on these things individually, but they understand if they surround themselves with people who have the same kind of mission, they'll be 10 times as successful. So endorphins, serotonin, oxytocin, and dopamine. Like, that's how I build every single community and every project I do. Like, you have to think about the human elements of stuff, because sometimes, especially Diego, who he lives in the metaverse, right? Like, you forget who you are when you're on the internet for such a long time, right? So always relate back to these human elements, and you'll find yourself and you'll find your people. Sorry for waffling, but you know. Dopamine.
No worries, man. Yeah, yeah. You seem very technical, but at the same time very personal with the community building. And I love how you interact with people on LinkedIn. Like, you comment, like you reply to every comment, and not a lot of people have the time nor energy to do so. But it's so important that people feel that it's actually you and not your assistant after your LinkedIn profile page. And I just wanted to add something on top of that, like a very practical tool, because what you're talking about is a very small communities. Like you, for example, you have 600 people. I don't know about you, Diego, how many people are there, but for, communities, for example, like Web3 ecosystem or protocols or NFT collections, you have hundreds of thousands of people that you need to communicate with. And this is not like a paid promotion, but I just wanted to share with you because this is like an upcoming AI product. And this is called Awesome QA. Oh, sorry about that. And what they've done is they basically built a bot that's aggregating all the knowledge in your Discord, in your Telegram, and other tools. And when someone asks like a very repetitive question, such as when is the LinkedIn Live with Antoni, Zack, Diego, and Marc, the bot responds immediately. So people are not left on their own, and community manager at the same time does not need to waste time on responding on repetitive questions. So yeah, once again, this is not a paid promotion. I just wanted to share, if someone is building a huge community, this is a way to go.
So on that note, really quickly, right? Obviously on Telegrams and stuff, there are bots that you're able to program to answer questions when keywords are put in, right? But my issue with that, even though it's an amazing tool, and I think probably Marc is going to write a post about it tomorrow or the day after, right? I'll get to Marc's content in a minute if we have time. But like, one thing I've always done, and I found myself whenever I get involved in other communities, is like, and I think Diego, he mentioned this about his own community, people who are involved in the community and spend the most amount of time there, they take enjoyment and pleasure out of being able to moderate and being able to answer these questions. So they see new people coming into the community, they're asking very repetitive questions. A particular person could just say, go to the website and read the FAQ section. But people in the community, they love to just like be the one to give these new people the answer. So this awesome QA or whatever it was called, like, it's nice, but again, it takes away the human element of things, right? And understandably, if you have 100 or 200,000 people inside your community, you're going to need some automation in there whatsoever. Or you can find opportunities to invest in your community members and give them opportunities. Biggest story I love to share is the community manager for VFriends, Corso. This guy jumped in VFriends as a holder, was active 18 hours a day, and Gary and his team, they saw this, and now he's probably the most paid community manager in the world because he dedicated time and energy answering everyone's questions, getting involved, resolving conflicts and all of this stuff. And now, like, he probably gets paid more than all of us combined, right, as a community manager, which is amazing. But it just shows you that human, what's the word I'm looking for? Human tendencies, right, cannot be overpowered by AI or can't be replaced with AI. But it's a good tool.
Yeah.
Zack, just to follow up on that, you mentioned being human a couple of times now. How does that connect with you when you think about virtual and physical communities and how they connect with each other?
For a very long time, we stopped recently because Christmas was just so busy. But on a Saturday or the Sunday, our community would just like call the group chat, and anyone that would answer, we agreed that we're not going to talk about anything related to LinkedIn or business or anything like that whatsoever. People would just talk about what they're doing this weekend, what arguments they're having at home, right? Like normal shit that you talk about with your friends. I'm sorry, can I swear here? I apologize. You know,
ahead,
like
man.
just the normal stuff that you talk about with your friends and family. So it's like, it's, again, just to reiterate, it's really easy to lose your identity and build a persona for yourself on the internet. But if you are constantly reminding yourself, these people that you're interacting with, they are equally as important as the human beings that you interact with in society, in real life, you'll build a better quality community.
I also think there's a very interesting shift there, right? Because one of the things I always say is that if you want to predict the future, you need to look at the past, right? So there's always patterns everywhere. So if you look at, prior media, internet, electricity, and all the jazz, people would be confined within communities that are geographically connected, right? Even before cars, right? Like you need to get on a horse and ride 5 days to go to another village, right? So people were confined to those communities because they were blocked geographically, meaning the place that you randomly got chosen to be born at most likely will end up being the community that you're going to be immersed in for the rest of your life, right? And you didn't have many choices beyond that. And now when you fast forward to the day we are today, a lot of people live in small towns or in places that they don't necessarily find like-minded people, and that's why the internet is awesome, because now you can find those people online, right? And especially when you talk about super specific and niche technologies like the ones we are in so far, because it's super niche, finding people like the four of us that are on the same page and understand what each other is saying, because we've been deep into that, even though we're in 4 different countries or are from 4 different countries, it's super exciting, right? So I think that this has shifted the way we interact with each other in a human level. And I think what's going to be crazier, because this is not stopping or not going slower as a lot of people think, because community is overhyped and the word community is thrown left and right. Like now look at the kids growing up, right? Like I have friends, kids of my friends, that they spend countless hours on Roblox and Fortnite, and their best friends are people they play games with they've never seen the face. And they call them best friends. They chat, they interact, they go back to the kitchen after they play, and they tell their parents the stuff they've been talking to them and how exciting the whole quest was or the whole game was and the missions they went on. But in reality, you don't even know if that person is a 45 years old dude, God forbid, or if someone at the same age than you. The thing is that you're abstracting location, you're abstracting identity, and you were engaging with that person because that person does or likes or has shared experiences with you, right? And this is mind-blowing when you think about it, because this thing is just going to keep scaling, especially when we go more towards the metaverse, spatial computing, AR, VR, and all that stuff. We know it's coming. You're going to be able to immerse yourself in a web that today is still 2D. We still 4 boxes, talking heads on a screen, and people were looking at their phones somewhere, right? And the point that we start immersing ourselves within the web is going to be fucking awesome, because now we're going to almost have the feeling that we are in the same room. So I think that is also going to be a key factor of shifting access to people, and that feeling of being closer and closely connected as humans that we miss so much. Even though the internet has been around for a minute, the tooling and the interface hasn't evolved as much, right? It started with chatbots, so we were all on with chat rooms. We were all in rooms, MSN Messenger, ICQ, chatting with each other, and then evolved to this. But it's far from how we would be talking if we would be now sitting on the same room, right? So I think that's why I'm so excited about all this stuff that's coming up, because people look at the negative and the positive. I'm a positive motherfucker, so I'm always looking that direction, and I think that's going to be great to bring us together in ways.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I think Apple Vision Pro will do its job and changing the landscape even further and making it more fun. Guys, I have last question from the audience before we wrap up. And yeah, the last question about starting a community. And that's what we encountered at Cookie Free when we wanted to do a B2B community. And it's nothing, I'm not ashamed of that. We drew lessons and we're going to implement it further. But how do you avoid the cold start problem before starting out an online community? Like, it's very difficult to start one. Do you have any ideas?
Well, I may just quickly start it off because I'm going through that process right now, right? So the stuff I talked about in masterclass before, all I've learned now I'm applying to a new company I founded, which is Borgo Academy, right? And that's exactly the biggest question I start facing. I was like, where do I get started, right? How do I go from 0 to 1, from 1 to 2 to 3 to 4, 4 to 10, 10 to 20, 20 to 100, right? And the exciting bit of already having an audience, for example, the masterclass is being exciting because what I've done is yesterday I've done my soft launch for members of the masterclass only. So those people are walking through the rooms of my new community and I'm asking them feedback. I'm trying to figure out how I can provide the biggest amount of value to them. So whenever I go public, the feedback loop has already shaped my product so much that whenever someone walks into the door, they're going to be like, this is awesome, I want to stick around, right? So my recommendation here to cold start would be find, everybody has 1, 2, 3 clients, friends, someone that's passionate about what you're doing. It's impossible that you're starting something entirely alone, right? So let's say it's an application-based product that you already have. You have users, I'm sure, right? So what you need to do is get 5, 10, 20 of those users, get them together, put in front of them what you're building, and help and ask them to help you shaping that platform, right? The most important thing you want to do is give people feeling, and not necessarily just give the feeling, but empower them as they would be, they belong to it. They are part of it. They're shaping something exciting, right? Because that's why people get involved. And to Zach's point before about the community manager, for example, and the AI discussion, that's the moment that there is no tooling that can replace. You're getting a call and saying, guys, listen, I'm trying to figure this out. What do you think? How could that be better? Can you tell me something that you love to have? I'm able to do this, and that. What do you think will be the most valuable? So I think that's an exciting way to cold start, especially when you go in a stealth launch. Because once you open the doors of your new restaurant, you want people to come that never heard of you to have an amazing experience. Because then what's going to happen is, instead of you having to shout to the world, buy my product, the people that will be within your community will become the customer acquisition mechanism, right? So they're going to go out and say, listen, this is like $30. This is all the value I'm getting. This guy is mad. You should come in, before he changes his mind and goes to 100, 1,000. So that's the feeling you want to give to people, because then you don't need to run ads, then you don't need to do anything else. People are going to bring people. And once people bring people because they trust in people, other people are going to bring other people. And all you need to do is add value. So that will be sort of like a short rant on going from cold to growth without having to spend a penny.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then if we now take a step back and look a bit how our communities even formed, or where does it start? I think you touched upon all this, Diego, before. I think at the moment you can think of in 2 buckets. One bucket would be many to many, and that's what you mentioned before with Roblox. I think that's just like a town square. People go there, people meet, and communities start to form. Or this could be any kind of like classic NFT collection. People would buy in, they would start kind of mingling with each other, they would start communicating, getting invested into the project, and a community forms, many to many. And on the other side, I think there's a movement that goes from one to many, or starts with one to many. We can see that on one side from brands, so brands who have some kind of strong established brand already, some kind of culture maybe, and then start building a community, one to many, or even independent creators. And for that, I think that it's really interesting to look at social media and the tools they now starting to integrate into their products that enable independent creators building up communities. The best example is Instagram's channel feature. They launched a couple of months ago. I mean, now you have so many creators building out or starting a community within a channel, talking to their community, getting feedback, and building up a community around a creator brand. And I think those are the 2 approaches. And the last thing I want to say is, and Diego, you nailed this, I think key here is public building. It's not about building in the dark and then going out and shipping a product and hoping people will like it, and that's it. It's about being open, being vulnerable, building publicly, sharing ideas, getting feedback, and involving the people in the process. I think that's really important.
Yeah, Zach, do you have anything to add when it comes to starting the community?
100%, but I'm conscious of everyone's time, so just cut me off at any point, really. look, if you think about it like this and just put everything into perspective, before you start building your community, understand the biggest community building tool that you can use is not actually going to be a platform. It's going to be community generated content, right? The biggest way that we've been able to scale so many communities, especially my own, is that the first 5 to 10 people, just like what Diego mentioned, that I onboarded into the 100 community, these were friends of mine. And these are people that have been engaging in their content via LinkedIn. I haven't ever met them in person, but I was like, look, I have this idea. I'm going to do this. I created a pitch deck. I invited everyone onto a Zoom call, but I mentioned to them, it's not going to be my community. It's going to be our community. And since day one, even though I take a CEO role in it, it's always been our community. And very quickly, without me even asking, these individuals were making posts via LinkedIn, Instagram, Twitter, all over the place, telling people there's an alpha group, come here, come check it out. You get free information 3 times a week for an hour each. And this guy's just crazy giving all this information away, right? It was insane. If you go onto LinkedIn and you type in 100 community, which I'm not plugging it, go to cookiefree.co. That's where you should go. But just from a hypothetical standpoint, if you were to do that, you'll see easily over like 3,000 posts from people just like talking about this all the freaking time. But the biggest way to answer the cold start problem, the biggest way we onboard new community members is consistently for 52 Fridays in a row. Last year, we hosted a live event for networking via LinkedIn, right? And we just gave people the opportunity, and that's such a key word. We gave other people opportunities to come in, talk about their business, talk about who they are, practice pitching and all of that stuff. And a couple of times throughout the live event, we would give a prompt. I spend too much time on ChatGPT. We would give a call to action for people to go to nas.io/100. Again, don't do that. Go to cookiefree.co. To join the community, and all the people that were joining the community were the people that were in the live event, so they had the opportunity to basically take advantage of our networks and our fan bases and speak to a crowd for the first time. For a lot of these people, we had like 200, 320 people in the room, and all of these people were picking up new connections, picking up new relationships, and almost every single event that we did, at least one person would land a new client, because you're giving opportunities away. But now
thanks so much, Zack. Yeah, so we'll wrap it up because we are like 10 minutes late, and it's still amazing that over 70 people are still tuning in.
And there's some great questions.
A lot of questions.
Yeah.
So maybe we can uncover them on LinkedIn in some sort of code of content. So yeah, thank you guys once more. As Zack said, check it out, Cookie Free. Also, I just displayed Diego's project, Diego's community. Also check Marc's content. It's amazing. This is one of the best sources about Web3 marketing in the space, not only on LinkedIn. And also check Zack LinkedIn content about growth, sales, LinkedIn. Yeah, man, don't be so humble. It's great as well. Yeah, so cheers, guys. It was really fun to talk with you, and yeah, on to the next one.
Likewise.
Thanks, guys.
Have a good one.
Great chat.